Hi guys, in this video we're going to look at using technology to help us when we're looking at working with a lot of numbers, and it obviously makes our life really easy if we can use our calculators. Alright, so I'm going to show you how to do that. Now this is a section in your textbook. Now it's really important when we're doing this is understanding that obviously we're going to be using our histograms, we're going to use our box and whisker plots. And all of that information that we can do from there, we can do quite easily on our graphics calculators. So I want to look at this example here, example number 2. Right, so what we've got is manufacturing globes, and what they're trying to say is that the newly invented type light globe has a 20% longer lifespan than the old type light globe. Alright, so the first thing you've got to do is you've got to put this information into your calculator or into a program. So I'll just show you how to do that. So you need to go to your calculator. Right, you can have your calculator there. Now, when you go into your calculator, into stats, right, the first one there is called edit. So you have to go into edit, and then what you'll do is you'll see a series of lists here. Alright, so just to save time, I've actually entered those values out of the column into your into those lists there. Now, if you have on your calculator, if you have values already in those lists that we're talking about, it's a really quick way of getting rid of all that data is to go up to the top. See how if I go up the top there, it's highlighted L6. If I go up there and press clear and then enter, all those values will go. Alright, so that's the quickest way of getting rid of all your lists. What I'd like you to do is to put those values into list 1 and list 2. And now we're in a situation where we can do our particular types of graphs. So the first thing we're going to do is do a box and whisker plot. So you have to go now into your stat plot, and we have to go to number 1, we'll turn that on. Alright, we've got list number 1 and list number 2. Alright, so that's already on. If it's not on, we just go across there and press enter. Now the sort of graph that we're looking for is in fact our box and whisker plot, and we'll use the one with outliers. Okay, and then that's pretty well what we have to do. Now the next thing we do, if we come across to this button over here called zoom, and you can scroll down to number 9, but it's probably easiest to press 9. Alright, so what that will do is it should put our graph into a box and whisker plot, and you can see that I've obviously selected the wrong graph here, so I'll have to go back into my graph, and I selected the thing over here before but I didn't go enter, so you've got to go enter there. Right, so we're looking at just doing list number 1, we're looking at the data for list number 1. Now we'll go zoom and number 9, and you get this type of graph. Right, so if I want to know what the values are for my first quartile, for my min, for my max, for my median value, which is my middle value, then I can just press trace. If I press this trace button, right, it will actually tell me what they are. So my min value is 75, my first quartile value is 96, so I know a quarter of my data lies between that value there and this value here. I know a quarter of my data lies between 96 and 100. So 110 is my median value. Then I've got 25% of my values lie between 110 and 117. This is my Q3, my third quartile, and then my max value there is in fact 131. So it gives me a representation of how my light globes would be represented. Now, I can also do, if I want to, I can put my second lot of data down. If I come down to my stat plot number 2, and then I put that on, and then I have to scroll to my graph. Alright, so, and when we do the one with the outline, okay, that one there, and now we'll make this one over here list number 2. So all you do is you press your second function button there, blue, and number 2. Alright, and that will change to there. And again, if I do zoom, no, we quit out of there now. Clear. Alright, so now I quit out of there, I'll quit out of there, and now go to my zoom button and do zoom 9. It will actually plot both of those particular box and whisker plots. Now you can see this thing here is an outline. Right? An outlier is a value that's sitting outside three standard deviations. Okay, so it's an extremely large value in this particular data set. As you can see here, right, our min value here pretty well corresponds with our median value there. Right? And if I want to trace these values just so I can see what they are, I can again scroll through these ones here by using my arrow. If I use my down arrow, that will flip to my next one. So I could scroll across to that value. That's an extremely big value of 191. Right? And then we've got 144, 132, 124, and 107. So we've got our representation of our data. It's pretty easy to do. What I could do in terms of my assignment or a test, I can actually use this particular values and do a scale diagram. Just makes life a little bit easier, a lot easier in fact. Now the other thing I can do with my data, if I go to stats and go across to calc, there's the first one up here is called one variable stat. Alright, so one variable stat. If I go to list number 1, right, and then go calculate, it's going to calculate a whole heap of information for me. So X bar is in fact my population mean. Alright, so that's saying the mean of my data there is 106.897. Alright, it's telling me I've got 39 bits of data in my data set. Now I think that's supposed to be 40, so I must have missed a value. Alright, and it's easy to miss a value when you're typing these in, so be careful. It's now giving me the information that was actually on my box and whisker plot. So the new bit of information you get here is in fact the mean value. Right, tells you what all of your values add up to, which is 4,169. It gives me my population mean, standard deviation as well. So a population standard deviation of 14.0. Alright, so I think that's a really useful way of doing stuff. Now that's doing a box and whisker plot. I can also do my data if I want to. If I go back to changing that particular graph, and if I go to my stat plot, and we'll turn the second one off. So you just go enter, and we can just turn that off, enter, and now we'll go to, well, the quick way of doing this is go to there, stat number 1. Now if we come down to our graphs, and we choose our box and whisker plot there, and not our box and whisker, our histogram, we can look at our list there. Again, if we go zoom, zoom 9, it will do a particular graph for us of what's a good representation for that. Now the little graph that you're seeing on below here is a function I had on my calculator, and I'll need to clear that so you can actually see only your data that you're looking at. Clear that. Alright, and then if I go back to my graph, alright, again I can press my trace button and I can flick between the values, so it's giving me the range. So what's saying is my box here is between 193.66 or 2/3 and going up to 103. Alright, so it's telling me I've got 4 values in that particular range. So if you did a frequency table, this is how your histogram would actually look. Alright, now I can reset those values. So if I go to my table, I could make my X min to be whatever value I want it to be, so I can make it 75. My X max, I can make that 145. Right, here it's saying I'm going up in lots of that, so I can go up in lots of 10. Right, and then if I graph that, it's going to give me a slightly different looking graph. And I could then go and change my data again. I can make it a bit wider, so instead of going up in 10s, I can go up in 5s, and then graph that, and you can see I'll get more particular values there. So it's up to you looking at the sort of things that you want, but I think a traditional histogram for a data set of that would be about 6 or 7 columns that we're looking at there. Alright, so your calculator does a pretty good job of just doing the best fit for you, so you can use that one, or in a question it will probably tell you how it wants you to divide those intervals up. So then you can just set those up in your calculator. Yeah, hope this helps. Obviously with calculators, if you need some help with that, I can certainly give you some one-on-one help in class. So good luck with those questions. All right, see ya.